Have you ever wondered why some people, even without fitting society's definition of beauty, still manage to draw everyone's eyes the moment they enter a room? They may not have the perfect facial symmetry, the flawless skin, or the magazine-ready body, yet there is something about them that lingers in your mind long after they are gone. This phenomenon is not a trick of appearance. It is the quiet power of inner presence. Think about it. We live in a world saturated with filters, cosmetic enhancements, and carefully staged images. Physical beauty is celebrated everywhere, but have you noticed that the people who leave the deepest impression are not always the ones who check every box on the beauty scale? Instead, they are the ones whose energy shifts the atmosphere. You feel their presence before they even speak, as if the space itself makes room for them. What creates that kind of magnetism? It begins with authenticity. When someone is comfortable in their own skin, their body language tells a story without words. They do not need exaggerated gestures or loud outfits. A calm way of moving, a natural rhythm in their speech, even the pauses in their silence, all of these transmit a message stronger than appearance. I am real. I am present. This authenticity cannot be faked, and because it is rare, it becomes unforgettable. Another element is emotional resonance. Have you noticed how some people make you feel at ease within minutes of meeting them? You may find yourself opening up, sharing stories, or simply feeling calmer in their company. That response is not accidental. It comes from their ability to project warmth and acceptance. Even if they say very little, their tone of voice, their steady gaze, and their openness signal safety. And safety, in human connection, is magnetic. There is also an intriguing paradox. Often, the individuals who carry this kind of inner allure are not fully aware of it. They may doubt themselves, compare themselves to others, or assume they are ordinary. Yet, their very lack of pretense makes them more appealing. They are not chasing attention, so when attention naturally flows toward them, it feels authentic. People sense sincerity, and sincerity invites trust. Consider this. Attraction is not always about admiration of beauty, but about recognition of energy. We are drawn to those who remind us of qualities we long for in ourselves: confidence, calmness, joy, or even mystery. That is why someone without perfect features can still feel unforgettable. Their presence reflects something essential, something we want to be closer to, something that inspires us without explanation. So, the next time you find yourself captivated by a person who does not meet conventional standards, yet seems to carry a quiet gravity, pause and reflect. What you are experiencing is not a superficial impression. It is the undeniable power of inner magnetism. And if you have ever doubted your own worth because you thought you did not look enough, remember this: your presence, your way of being, and the energy you radiate can be far more captivating than any surface perfection. Have you ever noticed how, when you speak, people seem unusually attentive? They don't interrupt. They don't rush to finish your sentences. They simply lean in. Their eyes stay fixed on you. Their heads tilt slightly. And even small gestures, like a quiet nod, show that your words are landing deeper than you think. This is not a coincidence. It is one of the clearest signs of inner magnetism. Most conversations today are filled with distractions. Phones buzz, thoughts wander, and people wait impatiently for their turn to talk. But when you carry a certain presence, the dynamic shifts. Suddenly, silence works in your favor. Others stop checking their devices and give you their full attention, almost as if your voice has the power to clear mental noise. What makes this so captivating is not the content of your words alone, but the energy behind them. Even ordinary phrases, when spoken with calm conviction, feel meaningful. People sense authenticity. They sense when you are not trying to impress, but simply sharing. And because honesty is rare, it becomes magnetic. So, if you often find others listening more closely than usual, recognize this truth. Your presence is speaking louder than your words. Have you ever met someone for the very first time, and, within minutes, you felt as though you could trust them with a secret? It almost surprises you, doesn't it? You tell yourself, "Why am I sharing this with someone I barely know?" Yet the words keep flowing. And instead of regret, you feel lighter, calmer, and strangely understood. That reaction reveals something powerful, the presence of a person who carries an energy of comfort. Most of us walk through the world guarded. We keep walls around our hearts because experience has taught us that not everyone is safe. Yet, there are rare individuals who seem to lower those defenses without even trying. Their presence acts like a gentle signal to your nervous system, telling you, "Here, you can breathe." And when that happens, something profound takes place. You begin to open up. Psychologists often speak about psychological safety, the invisible sense that it is okay to be vulnerable. You don't have to perform, you don't have to hide, and you don't have to calculate every word. The fascinating part is that you don't need years of friendship to feel this safety. Sometimes it happens instantly, simply because of the way someone listens, the softness in their tone, or the warmth in their eyes. Think about the last time a stranger told you something unexpectedly personal. Maybe a colleague admitted they were nervous about a presentation. Maybe someone on a bus revealed they were going through a breakup. On the surface, it seemed random, but it wasn't. They were responding to your aura of openness. You didn't demand their story, you allowed it. And in a world that often feels rushed and transactional, that allowance is magnetic. This ability to make others comfortable is not about always being cheerful or endlessly agreeable. In fact, it's deeper than politeness. It comes from authenticity. When you are grounded in yourself, when you carry no hidden agenda, others sense it. They realize, perhaps unconsciously, that you are not here to judge them, compete with them, or exploit them. You are simply here, present, and receptive. That kind of presence is so rare that it becomes irresistible. The irony is that many people who hold this gift don't recognize it. They think, "Why do people tell me so much? I didn't ask for it." But the truth is, people confide in you because you offer what most of them are starving for, a safe, emotional space. And this, more than any physical trait, is a sign of profound inner attractiveness. So if you often find yourself becoming the person that others open up to, even those you barely know, pause and acknowledge the depth of that power. You are not just listening, you are healing. You are showing people that there still exists a kind of presence where masks can fall away, where hearts can soften, and where silence itself feels like permission to be real. That is not weakness. That is charisma in its purest form. Have you ever noticed how, in certain groups, your silence speaks louder than another person's words? You may sit quietly, observing, not rushing to fill the air with opinions. Yet, somehow, when you finally decide to share, every head turns. People wait. They lean in. It is as though the room has been holding its breath for you. This is no accident. It is one of the clearest signs of respect, and respect is one of the strongest forms of attraction. In most conversations, there are always voices competing for attention. Some speak quickly, afraid of being overlooked. Others talk too much, mistaking volume for influence. But there is a different kind of power, a quieter one, that does not demand recognition, yet receives it anyway. When you carry inner authority, you don't have to fight for space. The room naturally creates space for you. Why does this happen? Psychology gives us an interesting clue. People are drawn not only to words, but to energy. Silence, when paired with presence, creates a magnetic tension. It makes others curious. They wonder, what are they thinking? What will they say next? And this curiosity transforms into respect, because withholding words signals that you value substance over noise. Think about leaders you admire. The most influential ones rarely speak the most. Instead, they speak with intention. Every phrase carries weight because it is not wasted. You may not even agree with them, but you remember their words long after the meeting ends. That is the power of measured expression. And if you notice others anticipating your perspective in the same way, it means they already see you as someone whose opinion matters. What makes this more fascinating is the effect your silence creates. Imagine a heated debate where voices are rising, emotions running high. Suddenly, you remain calm, listening. Without saying a word, you shift the dynamic. Others sense your stillness, and it unsettles them in a good way. It reminds them that not all influence comes through volume. Sometimes the most persuasive statement is the pause before you speak. Many people misunderstand silence as weakness or passivity. But true silence is not empty, it is intentional. It is the space where thought is distilled, where emotions are processed, and where clarity emerges. When others recognize that you are not rushing, not competing, not needing to prove yourself, they unconsciously respect you more. Your restraint reveals confidence. And confidence, especially when quiet, is magnetic. So, if you often find that your voice is anticipated, that people seem to wait for your input even when you haven't spoken yet, realize what that means. It means your presence already commands respect before your words arrive. You don't need to shout, you don't need to dominate, and you don't need to prove anything. The power is already in the space you create by simply being. And in a noisy world, that kind of silent authority is unforgettable. Have you ever wondered why strangers seem unusually comfortable approaching you? It could be a person asking for directions on the street, a colleague requesting your quick opinion on something they could easily Google, or even someone in a cafe striking up a casual conversation as if you had known each other for years. On the surface, these moments may look trivial, but beneath them lies an important truth. People sense the energy you give off, and that energy feels safe. Most of us are selective about who we approach. Think about it. When you need help, you scan the room. You don't just ask anyone. You instinctively lean toward the person who appears approachable, the one whose presence suggests kindness rather than rejection. This means that when strangers often turn to you, they are not just asking for a practical favor, they are unconsciously recognizing the atmosphere you carry. Psychologists describe this as nonverbal trust signals. Even before you say a word, your body language communicates volumes. A relaxed posture, open expression, or calm eye contact tells people, you are welcome here. Without realizing it, you become a safe harbor in small, everyday interactions. And this matters because human beings are wired to seek safety first, even in tiny exchanges. What makes this fascinating is the way these small requests reveal attraction. Not necessarily romantic, but magnetic nonetheless. When someone asks you for help, they are, in a subtle way, finding an excuse to connect. That momentary bond, no matter how simple, is evidence that your presence has softened the invisible barriers between strangers. And often, the person walking away feels better, not just because they got an answer, but because they felt acknowledged by you. Consider how often this happens in your life. If it is frequent, it means you project a warmth that is rare. Many people carry tension, impatience, or a closed-off demeanor that tells others, "Don't bother me." But when you embody openness, it shows even without words. That openness draws others in, sometimes without you even noticing. The irony is that you may dismiss these moments as unimportant. You might think, they just needed directions. That doesn't mean anything. But it does. Out of dozens of possible people, they chose you. Out of every potential face, yours was the one that looked safe enough to approach. That is not a coincidence. It is a reflection of the magnetic signal your presence emits. So, the next time a stranger asks you for something small, don't brush it off as random. Recognize it for what it truly is, a sign that your energy is felt, even by those who do not know your name. It is a reminder that attraction is not only about looks or status. Sometimes, it is about the invisible comfort you radiate, the kind that makes the world just a little less intimidating for someone else. Have you ever caught someone smiling at you for no apparent reason? Maybe it was a passerby on the street, a cashier at the grocery store, or even a colleague you barely spoke to. At first, you might wonder, was something funny? Do I have something on my face? But often, it is not about what you did. It is about what you radiate. That spontaneous smile is one of the clearest signs that your presence is creating a positive ripple around you. Smiles are powerful, and more importantly, they are involuntary. Unlike polite conversation, which can be rehearsed, a genuine smile escapes before the brain has time to filter it. It is the body's way of responding to energy it finds uplifting. When someone smiles at you unexpectedly, it is their subconscious saying, "There is something about you that makes me feel lighter." That is attraction at its most authentic form, not calculated, not forced, but natural. In psychology, this is known as emotional contagion, the invisible transfer of feelings between people. Just as negativity can drain a room, positivity can brighten it instantly. If you often receive smiles without doing anything in particular, it means you are transmitting a subtle emotional signal that others pick up on. Your posture, your calm expression, or simply the way you walk may be sending the message, "I am approachable, I am safe, I am alive in this moment." Think about how rare this is in modern life. Most people rush from one place to another, lost in their screens, wearing faces of stress or distraction. Genuine connection has become scarce. That is why a single smile feels so striking, it breaks the pattern. If you are the reason that strangers break into a smile, it means you carry something rare enough to interrupt their autopilot. And they notice, even if you don't. What makes this even more fascinating is how universal it is. It doesn't matter if you are wearing your best outfit or something simple. It doesn't matter if you are speaking or silent. Attraction here has nothing to do with presentation. It comes from presence. A smile, given freely, is proof that the energy you project is strong enough to reach another person without words. And yet, many people dismiss these moments. They think, "Oh, they were just being polite." But politeness has a certain stiffness to it, and you can feel the difference. A genuine smile lingers in the eyes, softens the face, and feels almost involuntary. When you notice that difference, you begin to realize how much of an impact you truly have. So, the next time someone smiles at you out of nowhere, don't ignore it. Don't assume it means nothing. See it as what it really is, a mirror, reflecting the positive energy you already radiate. Because in a world that is often heavy, being the reason for someone's lightness, even for a moment, is one of the most powerful signs of your inner attraction. Have you ever noticed how certain people treat you differently without any real reason? Perhaps you walk into a room and their expression changes. They give you a look that feels sharp, or they make a subtle remark that seems unnecessary. You replay the interaction in your mind and think, "What did I do wrong?" The truth is, you likely did nothing at all. What you experienced was not about you, it was about them. Human beings are natural mirrors. When we meet someone, especially someone with a strong presence, we unconsciously compare. Your confidence, your calmness, or even your effortless way of being can trigger self-reflection in others. For some, this reflection is inspiring. They admire you, they feel drawn to your energy, and they want to learn from it. But for others, the same reflection can feel threatening. Instead of admiration, it stirs discomfort, and that discomfort often shows up as jealousy or criticism. Think about it. If someone criticizes you for being too confident, too friendly, or even too polished, what are they really saying? They are revealing their own insecurity. Your qualities highlight the parts of themselves they wish they had, and rather than facing that truth, it feels easier for them to project negativity onto you. Psychologists describe this as projection. When people push their own insecurities outward, blaming someone else instead of acknowledging their own struggle. So, when someone gossips about you, rolls their eyes, or makes cutting comments without justification, remember, you may simply be reminding them of the gap between who they are and who they want to be. It's important to recognize this dynamic because many people, especially those who underestimate their own attractiveness, take unjust criticism personally. They shrink. They dim their light. They tell themselves, maybe I should be less visible, less bold. But doing so only reinforces the insecurity of others and diminishes your own authentic presence. The irony is that your very ability to evoke strong reactions is proof of your impact. Mediocrity rarely provokes envy. Blending in rarely draws criticism. But when you carry energy that cannot be ignored, people react. Some react with curiosity and respect, others with defensiveness and discomfort. Both are signs that you stand out more than you think. And here's a perspective shift. Jealousy and criticism can actually be reframed as compliments in disguise. If someone feels the need to comment on you without reason, it means you are visible. You have entered their awareness strongly enough to stir emotion. That is not weakness. That is influence. So, the next time you sense tension in someone's gaze or hear a remark that feels undeserved, pause before internalizing it. Ask yourself, is this truly about me or is this about them? More often than not, it is the latter. And instead of letting it diminish you, let it confirm what is already true, that your presence is powerful enough to be felt, even by those who cannot name why. Have you ever walked into a room wearing the simplest clothes, nothing expensive, nothing carefully styled, and still felt the weight of eyes following you? Maybe you were in a plain t-shirt, maybe in casual jeans, yet someone said, "There's something about you." That moment reveals a powerful truth. Real attraction is not stitched into fabric, it is carried in presence. We live in a culture obsessed with appearance. Fashion, makeup, accessories. All of these are marketed as the keys to standing out. And while style can enhance, it is not the core of magnetism. Think about it. Haven't you met people who seemed flawless on the surface, yet left no lasting impression? And on the other hand, haven't you also met someone in the most ordinary outfit who somehow felt unforgettable? That paradox is what makes inner allure so fascinating. What truly captivates people is not the brand you wear, but the way you wear yourself. It's in your posture, the rhythm of your walk, the calmness of your expression. When you feel grounded inside, even simplicity looks elegant. Psychologists call this embodied confidence, a state where your self-assurance radiates so clearly that external decoration becomes secondary. This is why strangers notice you even when you believe you are blending in. It is not your clothes they are responding to, but the signal you project. A steady gaze communicates self-trust. A relaxed smile softens the atmosphere. Even silence, when carried with ease, draws attention. These elements combine to create what people call aura, a field of presence that clothes alone cannot replicate. Ironically, many who possess this quality often underestimate it. They tell themselves, "I look too plain today, nobody will notice me." And yet, compliments still arrive. Someone might say, "You have such a natural glow," or "You stand out without trying." At first, it feels confusing, but the explanation is simple. People are drawn to authenticity, and authenticity does not require styling. Consider how liberating this is. If your attractiveness is not dependent on appearance, then it cannot be taken away by a bad hair day, a simple outfit, or a missed trend. It is rooted deeper in the way you inhabit yourself. That kind of attractiveness is stable, reliable, and impossible to fake. So, the next time you step out in plain clothes and still notice eyes lingering or comments flowing your way, don't dismiss it. Don't assume it's politeness. Recognize it as a reflection of your natural magnetism, the kind that thrives without decoration. Because the truth is, fashion fades, beauty standards shift, but presence, your unshakable way of being, remains unforgettable. And that is the kind of impression that endures long after people forget what you were wearing. Have you ever crossed paths with someone only once, yet days later they still linger in your thoughts? Maybe it was a stranger you exchanged a few words with, or someone you sat next to during a short trip. You didn't share much, but the memory of them refuses to fade. Now, pause for a moment. What if you are that person for others? What if, without realizing it, you leave emotional fingerprints on people you barely meet? This is the mark of inner magnetism. True attraction is not measured by how long you interact with someone, but by the depth of the impression you create. While most encounters dissolve into the blur of everyday life, some remain etched in memory. And often, it is not because of what you said, but because of how you made them feel. Psychologists call this the emotional afterglow, the lingering effect of an encounter that resonates beyond the moment. It's why someone may struggle to recall the details of your words, but they cannot forget the calm in your voice, the kindness in your eyes, or the way your energy shifted the atmosphere. Those subtle qualities leave behind an imprint far stronger than surface-level beauty or scripted charm. Consider this. The people who stay in our minds are rarely the loudest or the flashiest. They are the ones who carry authenticity, the ones who seem grounded and present. When you embody that state, you create contrast. In a world rushing with noise and superficial exchanges, your presence feels different, almost like a pause, a breath of fresh air. And because it is rare, it is remembered. What's more, this kind of impact is not something you can force. You cannot plan it. You cannot rehearse it. In fact, the harder you try to be memorable, the less authentic you become. But when you simply show up as yourself, unpretentious, calm, attentive, you give people something they do not encounter often, a genuine human connection. And genuine connections, no matter how brief, carve emotional traces that time struggles to erase. Think of it like this. A song you hear only once can sometimes stay in your mind for days, not because of its complexity, but because of the feeling it evoked. You are that song for others. They may not recall every detail, but they remember the feeling of being in your presence. That memory alone is enough to draw them back to you in thought, long after the encounter is over. So, if you've ever had someone tell you, "I don't know why, but I keep thinking about you," take it as confirmation of your inner allure. Your presence is not fleeting, it leaves emotional echoes. And in a world where most faces are forgotten as quickly as they appear, being the person who remains unforgettable is one of the clearest signs of true, lasting attraction. Have you ever noticed how rare true silence is in human connection? Most of the time, silence feels awkward. People scramble to fill it with small talk, nervous laughter, or meaningless words just to avoid the weight of quiet. Yet, with certain people, silence feels different. It feels warm, natural, even comforting. If others can sit beside you in silence without unease, it is a powerful sign of your inner magnetism. Comfortable silence reveals more than words ever can. It means that your presence alone is enough. The other person doesn't need constant stimulation, validation, or distraction when they are with you. Instead, they feel safe simply existing in your space. Psychologists often refer to this as relational security, the state of being at ease because no masks are required, no performances necessary. With you, people sense they can be themselves. And in today's world, where most interactions feel rushed or superficial, that kind of ease is extraordinary. Think about it. When you are with someone who makes you anxious, silence quickly becomes unbearable. Your mind races. Do they think I'm boring? Should I say something? What if they judge me? But when you are with someone who radiates calm authenticity, silence transforms into something else. It becomes connection without words. That connection is rare, and because it is rare, it becomes magnetic. This ability to create comfortable silence is not about withdrawing or being passive. It is about the energy you project. People feel your groundedness. They sense that you are not desperately seeking approval, not grasping for attention, not measuring the value of every second together. Instead, you are present, fully present, and that presence makes others relax into themselves. Have you ever noticed that friends confide in you, not just with stories, but also with their quiet? They may come over, sit with you, and do nothing at all yet leave feeling lighter. That is not an accident. It is the invisible gift you give, the gift of acceptance without demand. Ironically, many people who create this kind of space often underestimate it. They may think, I'm too quiet. I don't know how to keep conversations going. But what they fail to see is that this quiet is not emptiness. It is strength. In a culture overflowing with noise, the ability to make silence comfortable is a rare form of power. So, if people often linger near you without needing to speak, if they relax into your presence as though your energy itself is enough, take it as a sign. You are not lacking in expression. You are providing something deeper. You are reminding them that connection is not always about words. Sometimes, the most profound intimacy is found in silence. And if others can breathe more freely just by being near you, that is proof that your presence is more magnetic than you realize. Have you ever thought of yourself as ordinary, blending into the background, convinced there is nothing remarkable about you? Ironically, that very belief often signals something different, that you carry a quiet strength you haven't yet recognized. Many of the most magnetic people underestimate their own impact. They assume they are just another face in the crowd, while others silently admire the calm gravity they bring into every room. The truth is, power does not always announce itself. It doesn't always come with loud gestures or polished appearances. Sometimes it hides in subtlety, in the way you listen without rushing to speak, in the way you walk with ease instead of performance, in the way you allow others to feel seen without demanding attention for yourself. That lack of effort is precisely what makes your presence so compelling. Psychologists call this authentic influence, a kind of magnetism born not from trying, but from being. When you stop chasing validation, you unconsciously draw people closer. So, if you've ever wondered why others notice you even when you don't notice yourself, remember this. Your greatest strength may already be alive in your simplicity, and that unrecognized power is often the most irresistible of all. When we talk about attraction, society often pushes us toward the same checklist: perfect skin, flawless proportions, stylish clothes, or carefully rehearsed charm. But as we've explored, true magnetism rarely follows that script. Real allure lives deeper. It hides in authenticity, in the way you show up when you are not trying to impress, in the subtle energy that makes people lean closer without knowing why. The most captivating people are not always the ones who dominate the room. Often, they are the ones who move through it with quiet confidence, leaving others feeling calmer, lighter, or somehow changed. Their presence cannot be explained by appearance alone. It is rooted in self-acceptance, in the courage to be genuine, and that is why it lingers long after beauty trends fade. Think about it. How many times have you felt drawn to someone who wasn't conventionally perfect, but who carried a glow you couldn't ignore? Their laugh felt honest, their silence felt comfortable, their presence felt rare. That kind of attraction cannot be forced because it is not about performance, it is about alignment. When your inner self matches your outer expression, when you stop chasing approval and simply live as you are, you radiate something unforgettable. This is the paradox. The more you try to appear attractive, the harder it becomes. But the moment you stop striving, when you let yourself be natural, easeful, unfiltered, that is when others truly see you. Your uniqueness, your simplicity, your quiet strength become impossible to overlook. And the most powerful part is that you don't even need to realize it. Your light shines whether or not you notice it, but it shines brightest when you finally learn to embrace it. So here is the reminder. You do not need to reshape yourself to fit someone else's standard. You do not need to shrink to make others comfortable, nor exaggerate to gain their approval. The essence of your attraction is already present in who you are. You shine when you live in your truth. You radiate when you stop hiding behind masks. And you become magnetic not by chasing attention, but by embodying authenticity. Now, I want to leave you with a question, one that only you can answer. Have you ever sensed people being drawn to you for reasons you couldn't quite explain? Maybe a stranger smiled, maybe a friend lingered longer in your presence, maybe someone remembered you after only one meeting. These are not coincidences. They are mirrors reflecting the strength you carry inside. So share your story. Reflect on those moments. Because the more you acknowledge your quiet power, the stronger it becomes. Remember, your true light does not begin when others see it. It begins the moment you finally recognize it for yourself. And perhaps that recognition is the most magnetic quality of all.